YourFavNurseB. Today I'm interviewing Catherine, who happens to be my best friend in the whole wide world. She is a pediatric patient care tech at a hospital. She's also finishing up her prereqs so she can start a BSN program in May, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, and she also happens to be a single mom as well. So it's like everything, you know. I asked you all to submit your questions on the YourFavNurseB Facebook group, so make sure you go ahead and join it if you haven't already. So can you tell them like how you became a patient care tech? What were you doing before that? How long you been a patient care tech?
For 7.5 years I worked at a veterinarian hospital, just working with animals and being a veterinarian assistant and pretty much whatever the hospital needed. So I quickly learned just triage situations in general and how important critical thought was to just see your patients and evaluate them right away. Because, you know, when someone comes in with a patient who has a broken leg versus one that's in respiratory distress, you need to act quickly because those moments are really crucial. So just after being there and just really knowing and discovering my passion for the medical field, like I never thought in a million years that I was gonna go into the nursing field. It still kind of blows my mind.
Mommy, I still have this at my house.
You sure do.
I have that. I have.
What got me interested into really just my aha moment for nursing was after I had my daughter. I was in the hospital and I was the most vulnerable that I've ever been. I was at the mercy of these strangers, and I'm a very like closed person with my body. Like you know, you're stripped down of all your clothes and you're put on in this hospital gown, and like you just, all your identity is gone because you're just this woman who's gonna have this baby, and maybe things are gonna go well, maybe things are gonna go poor, maybe your baby's gonna die, maybe you're gonna die, maybe not. So like after I had my daughter, I'm like, I have to be this for women. Like I have to be this for women. Like I have to be the support. Like I just had this undying like draw toward women's health and toward the mother and child bond after I realized how big and significant it was.
Right, that makes sense. I could definitely see that. Like, yeah, I felt that way for a quick second, and I was like,
and it's God.
I mean, I don't know. You never know where life will take you, because I didn't think I was going to be a nurse either. So.
Pretty crazy.
So it was actually a pay cut for you to go from where you were at to now.
It was.
How was, like, why did you decide to do patient care tech while being in school versus just staying where you were at? And then, like, how did you adjust to that pay cut? How have you been adjusted to it?
Sure. So my main thing was understanding the patient flow of the hospital and the routine of the hospital, the language of a huge hospital. My hospital only accommodated animals, and it accommodated, I mean, they were patients. It was very, very serious. Like, it's still 100% dosage. Everything has to be very legal, written. Everything's very professional, even though it was animals. It's not like
right, like it was a madhouse.
No, anything as far as legality goes, it's very, very official. So I was used to certain things, but I wasn't used to hundreds of people a day. I wasn't used to hundreds of doctors a day. And I wanted to understand a hospital flow and an environment, and I wanted to get my foot in the door because I'm like, okay, if I go now to get a patient care tech position, I know that by the time I'm a nurse, I'm gonna have the less stress of a culture shock from switching into such a different field. Right. I didn't want all that stress to hit me all at once. So the salary being cut, to be honest, like it was quite a blow, but really I just buckled down on other things. Like I still am able to pay my bills and basically just meal plan more instead of going out to have more. Like, hey, I can't just go out with my friends and spend such and such amount on dinner on a whim. So, and I know it's just part of it, but with my pay cut, I was able to get food stamps. So, hey.
Make it work, honey. Make it work. So, take us to like a typical day of you working.
Typical day is you get there, you have to be on time. 7:01, you're tardy. People are ready from the night shift to give you a report, and they're ready to go home. So you are expected to be there, or you look like a straight piece of shit. So you show up at 7 a.m. right on 7 a.m. As soon as it turns 7 a.m. they go over the date. They say, hey, it's February 25th. Your charge nurses are so and so and so and so. These are where your major hot spots are. Hot spots are like super critical kids. They say, this is your census. Then they go over. So if our census is like it's been like record high recently. So our census right now was like 123. And so we should have 8 PCTs for that type of flow. So they'll say you have 4 PCTs, you need 8. So, or they'll say you have 8 PCTs and you need 8, which never happens. But basically you're at huddle. We have a huddle. And then after you see what garden you're in, because I work in a NICU with multiple like areas or gardens. So each PCT, depending on how many showed up that day, will determine your workflow.
Okay.
Will determine where you're at. It's already recorded where you're gonna be, but like, because they already know who called in and who didn't. So you either have 1.5 gardens, 1 gardens, or like 5.
So can you explain to them like how many patients you would typically have? Say on average, how many patient caretakers do you have per patient? As far as compared to patients, and then how many will that give you typically?
Ideal staffing day, like ideally. So if you staffed, it would be probably, so you probably have 25 to 35 babies per PCT. If you are improperly staffed, then you can have up to 50 patients per 1 PCT.
Really?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
I mean, it's what happens. Like we had a really strong respiratory issue hit a lot of our staff, like our PCTs. So even if people wanted to come in, like you're risking killing a baby if you come in. Like you can't come in. I had a sniffle the other day, like a cold, and I had to call off for a cold 3 shifts in a row because if you can't control your secretions, you cannot come in. So that's pretty crazy. But even if we're like short staffed, I mean it sucks, but we make do with we try our best to make do with what we have. Like, and say that we are short staffed and the nurses are fully staffed though, then they help us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you know where you're at, okay, you got your assignment, you know where you're working, what you do after that?
After that, whoever was in the garden that night hands you your own independent report now. So you got the grand report at the huddle, and then you go room to room. You have your note card and you write down each room number and what the entering complaint is for the baby. If the baby's having any OR procedures, if the baby was declining, did the baby code last night, has family been present? Like, it's kind of a rough draft of everything. And hey, this family was, not allowed to come up. This is a, there's some babies that are in the system as hidden because one of the parents is, it cannot legally know the baby's there. Sometimes it's like an abusive situation. Sometimes, foster care steps in and the mom will try to come back if she's like an addict, and she'll try to come back and fight people and things like that. So you have to know everything so you're not unaware of an escalated situation letting somebody back who shouldn't be back there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the big huddle, it's you, the nurses, all the nurses, like
Charge
everybody.
Yeah, it's everybody except, it's just PCTs and managers. So it's not the nurses because the nurses are having their own huddle.
Their own. Okay.
We're having our huddle, yeah.
Okay. So then once you get your report on all your patients,
then I QC equipment. Automatically, what I do is I QC, which is quality control. I go through all the important machines on the unit, like our ECG machines. I turn the voltage up. I do a fake shock to make sure the wavelength on the machine works. I go through my yellow bag, so I pop the lock on this yellow bag, and I go through all the laryngoscopes and check all the blades and handles to make sure all the flashlights are working properly, making sure that all the ET tubes that are needed in case a baby is declining or coding. So all these things need to be in this bag.
So is it like a stat, like a emergency?
It's an emergency bag.
Like kit,
yeah,
okay.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, yellow bag. It's like an EMT bag. It's everything you need in a code should be in that yellow bag on top of your crash card. So that's the first thing that you're checking is your yellow critical bag check. Yeah.
So whose job? So if you use something from it, you have to stock it.
Yes. I don't want any, nobody is supposed to touch my bag except me.
Oh, okay.
It's there for everyone, but usually nurses don't know what's in that bag. It's my job to go inside that bag and hand off equipment in an emergency. So yeah, they don't do anything but mess it up. Yeah. Unfortunately. Because I'm the one checking it every day. So usually they're like, oh, can you, do this and that. So, and, oftentimes if you don't check your bag and you have a code and you have a baby that one of the lights isn't working, that's your fault because you didn't do your job and check your bag.
Right. So you check your emergency bag. Okay, you got that.
And then basically I go around and I just check with my nurses and I see, hey, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything in report. Like, because I've had times where, oh, this baby in room 21 is going to MRI, I wasn't told. So it kind of depends on who you get report handed off to from as well. Because they can either give you a really good report or you can have somebody who's like, I'm tired, I want to go home. Everybody did fine last night. And then they just leave you there. So,
really?
Surprise. It's real life, y'all. So, in those situations, I don't really trip. I just go inside the computer system and I look at my babies to see what their entering complaints are. I check with my nurses and I say, hey, do you know of any travels going on? Like, can I get you anything? I check with them. And then I start just stocking the rooms. And then I like to stock early because the doctors come around in a couple hours and they give report. And I always like to listen to the report. And it'll talk about if the baby had any formula changes that they want to incorporate. So then it'll be my job to get all that formula out, put in the new formula. If the parents are going to visit, what their complaints are, are they having problems with lactation? Because especially for me, I'm a PCT, but as I told you before, my passion is the women's health aspect of things. So I'm a little more of a nosy PCT. I want to get my hands in there more and see if I can really help the family, to make their stay in the NICU just more stress-free, they're going through enough. So I check with the nurse and I say, hey, what time are these feedings? Can I do any of the vitals? And so we just kind of, depending on who's working, we establish a routine of, oh, hey, at this time I would like you to help me with this. And hey, the baby's going to be bathed at this time. Can you help me with this? And, if they have 4 other babies, then yeah, I'm going to do everything that I need to do. I'm going to do the changing, the bathing, the vitals. So once you get a relationship with your nurse, then they trust you more because they know your work ethic. One of the culture shocks that happened to me coming from the animal hospital to the NICU, it was very overwhelming for me for the first 3 months because everybody treated me like shit. They did. And I heard about it. I heard that this was going to happen. That was another thing that I was like, man, this is going to suck.
I remember you was like, they don't know me.
And they don't. But see, I look at some people who are PCTs, just like you have your good nurses, you have your bad nurses, you have your good doctors, you have your bad doctors, you have your good PCTs, you have your horrible PCTs. Oh my gosh, of course, so I don't know what their prior experience was before they worked with me. So I'm already getting a stigma and a jacket for something that they've experienced in the past. So once I kind of proved myself to them, now we have an understanding.
Right. So sometimes you have to get past that hump.
You do. And don't be, if someone's ignorant with you, don't be ignorant back, only if you really need to. I have a couple stories, but this video is already too long.